This week on the Brody and Mo In-Law Show.
Are Phil Kessel and Taylor Hall the best playoff push rentals that an Arizona sports franchise has been able to secure?
I'm so happy right now because you don't hear a whole lot about ice hockey in the desert.
Sadie with a bag of Cheetos and a murder lullaby in the background.
Because who names their kid Humpty?
Welcome to the Brody and Mo In-Law Show, where we commiserate on Arizona sports, collaborate on being dads of daughters, and conversate on the pressing matters of today. Brody, what did we do? What did we do?
What do we do?
Yeah. What did we do? Yeah.
Yeah.
When did we do? I'm trying to do like a football cheer, like a football cheer, you know?
What do we do?
What did we like?
Do we
what
do
did
the
we
wave?
do? Drugs. When do we do them? Never, because it's a family podcast. No, like what I was going for with no context to you whatsoever was, what did we do? Break quarantine.
Yay! We did break quarantine this weekend.
When did we do it? Last weekend.
Yeah, that's why you guys didn't have a podcast on last week. We're 1 week behind because we were in the same city. We live like 100 miles apart, and we saw each other.
Brody, I saw glorious. You in person. In person, you saw
were there.
you.
I thought you were a hologram up till now.
I did send an avatar to maintain distancing.
Yeah, we actually broke quarantine. It was awesome, and it was great. And Flagstaff is beautiful this time of year. And thank you guys for having us. And it was good to see you. And
anytime, well, not within the next 14 days, because we got to make sure we're still all okay. But other than that, anytime.
You're not allowed to leave your broadcasting booth now for 14 days.
I haven't left this 8x4 wall room.
That's it. That's all you get.
Brody, we played some sports. We actually engaged in what we claim to talk about on this show.
We did. And we started a sports podcast during the worst possible time to start a sports podcast, but we actually did sports this weekend. Tell me about it.
We created our own content because there is none out there to talk about. So we had to generate some buzz, and then now we can and relay that information to the airwaves.
During our sporting event, it was packed. To be fair,
true,
there was a lot of people there watching us.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they were watching us, but they were watching.
So for context, listeners, we started off the day out on the lake, did a little bit of trout fishing, and Brody's not wrong. We were getting looks from the 400, 500 people on the shore of this very small city lake.
Yes, at least. And there was probably, what did we count? Like 16 boats?
Probably.
In what's basically a pond.
It is essentially a bog.
And somebody put a bass boat in there. Do you remember that? They launched a bass boat in this what's basically a slightly bigger than a canal. And I was like, what are you doing, sir? But they got it out
mountain
there.
Lake. They did. They got it out.
I don't know how they got it out.
We did not stick around to see if they actually got it out of the lake. They might still be there, for all we know.
Yeah, they might be.
But all that matters is that everybody on the shore was truly watching us in the boat, because Brody started off the day putting on a masterclass. Throwing down, what'd you catch? 5? You boated 5?
Yeah, I boated 5, and I think you boated 6. I think had me.
Between the two of us, we boated about 11.
Yeah, and we caught them just outside of the cast of the shore people. They were so mad. Like they're
just
out there
trolling
with the bobbers,
back and forth,
reeling
just
them
in front of them. It was great.
They were so mad.
So we started out the day with a little bit of that, with a little bit of fishing, some non-traditional sport action. And then closed it out with some additional, maybe a little more traditional, but still not something that we would probably talk about in earnest here on the podcast.
Yes.
Like not a mainstream sport, but we closed it out with a little game of the Kings game. A little bit of 18 holes.
18. I think I made it through 16. And then I conceded
you did
defeat.
Stop at about 16.
And I became your caddy. I'm much more suited to be a caddy, I've determined, than golf.
The first caddy I've ever had, and probably the last.
Isn't it weird? If anybody's ever golfed with a caddy, you have to know this. It's strange.
You feel kind of bad about yourself.
You
You're
do.
taking advantage of this person. You volunteered to do it, and you only did it for a couple of holes. I still felt kind of bad when you would take the club from me and wipe it off and put it back in my bag. I felt obligated to tip you at the end of the round.
Like you see some golfers like throw their club at their caddy, like if they're mad, or throw the ball at them, and you're like, man, I feel so bad for that caddy. Like he has to cart his clubs around, and we used a cart. Like they carry it around everywhere, you know. I guess they're getting paid to do it, so you deal with stuff if you're getting paid. But I had a caddy once, and it's awkward. It's weird, but it was fun. It was beautiful out.
It was nice. It was packed.
And it was packed. I think it was
Apparently,
to watch us golf.
Golf is the social distancing sport.
I was thinking about that. If you're able to golf within 6 feet of your partner, you are the best golfer who has ever lived, right?
Without a doubt.
PGA Tour guys can't even make it 6 feet from each other. we were never ever within 6 feet of each other, I don't think. Even on the greens.
No, I know. We never got within 6 feet of each other near the pin.
No, right? Yeah, I don't understand. So it was fun. It was fun to be out. I got sunburnt so bad. The inside of my lips got sunburned. How is that possible?
No.
It's like, man, my teeth hurt. So I was like,
how is that possible? I'm thinking of the physics of that.
I don't know, but I don't know if it has something to do with chapped lips or what, but my inside of my gums are all chapped. It was weird. Maybe I have problems. I don't know, but
that might be the first and last time that ever happens to another human being.
I'm going to be in a medical journal. If anybody's looking to get their PhD and want to do research, I mean, I'm willing right now because I literally have nothing better to do. So,
Brody, playing these non-traditional sports, the only thing available to us under quarantine protocol, got me thinking. There's one other more traditional, but yet for Arizonans, still pretty non-traditional sport that I know nothing about, but I have an interest in because of you. I've got another friend who's really into this too. Cole, my friend Cole, is really into hockey. But you are the one person I know who is just like an adamant, staunch Arizona Coyotes hockey fan.
Yes.
It's a small, select group of people in the state who can call themselves real Arizona Coyotes hockey fan, and I think you count yourself in that group.
I definitely count myself. We're talking about hockey. I'm so happy right now because you don't hear a whole lot about ice hockey in the desert, right? You know, it's like you just said, very small market. They don't talk about a lot on the sports radio. It's dominated by the Cardinals or, you know, the Suns or Diamondbacks, and rightfully so. I mean, they're the ones that bring in a lot of fans. But man, I love ice hockey. We're season ticket holders to the Coyotes. They're as long as they stay in Glendale, you know, we're in the West Side, which we can get into the whole moving of team and all that stuff later. But Chelsea and I both love ice hockey, and we try and go as often as we can.
So I'm somebody who doesn't know anything about hockey.
Yeah, I know you don't know anything. I brought you to a game.
You were there and you watched me have no context for what was going on. I will say it was super fun when they scored the goals. Goals!
You cheered at the right times. That's the important thing. You know what I mean? Like,
I got it.
If you're a hockey fan, at least know when to cheer and when to boo. That's, I think, step one. When you see the red light go on and your team is the one that put the puck in the net, that's when you cheer. When it's the other way, you boo. Step one.
Cheering is easy. It's easy to know when to cheer. What I would love for you to do right now is walk me through how to know when to boo, how to know when to react.
So,
teach me the sport of hockey, Brody, over a podcast. Teach our listeners the sport of hockey.
Oh my gosh. That's really hard. That's a great question. And it's hard to talk about, like, you know, the whole sport. I would say if you're going to become a hockey fan, which you absolutely should. You need to know some very basic rules, which is, I think, for Arizona fans, it's hard to come by because we're inbred with football. Like, everybody knows basic rules of football or basic rules of basketball. So, like, or basic rules of baseball. in hockey, you just need to know some very simple rules. I think that will change the way in which you watch a game. So number one, it's always good to boo the refs. That's as in any sport. Like even if they make the right call, you can still boo them.
Number one of hockey is boo the refs.
It's okay for that.
I'm going to write this down. I'm taking notes. Number one important thing of hockey, boo the refs.
Well, that's just important in sports, I think. But we've gotten to become such good hockey fans that we know when the refs have made a good call. So like, I guess if you when you come to another game with me, just watch me. And if I start booing the refs, you can join in.
I want to know. I want to beat you to the punch.
Oh, okay. All right.
So what I want you to do here is tell me, maybe give me some strategy stuff. Because like you said, everybody knows the generalities of like football, baseball, basketball. But I feel like I know a lot of the intricacies of those games too. Like I can recognize strategy. I understand why certain things are happening instead of reacting to them.
You can see them coming.
With hockey, I just have no context. I have no concept. We went to that game and I was watching the line changes. I've never seen that on TV before.
Yeah, they don't highlight that on TV.
That whole thing was just wildly new, and all of it was just different.
So I would say also, even above everything else, like you just said, if you want to get into the sport of hockey, priority number one is you got to go to a game. Witnessing it live is a totally different experience than on the TV, which watching on TV is still good. We still watch them. If we can't go to a game, we're going to watch them on TV. But when you experience it live, like you said, you see how fast the line changes are. Guys are playing for, anywhere between 45 seconds to a minute and a half at a time. They don't play 10, 20 minutes at a time like a lot of people think. They might get, anywhere between 15, and some of the guys that play a lot, like D linemen, will get up to 25 minutes of ice a game. So it's quick pacing every time because these guys give everything they can for 45 seconds. For a minute, they give it their all. And they're, as you guys know, hockey is an incredibly violent sport. They're beating on each other. And their objective is to hurt somebody, it seems like at times. So they go really, really fast. One thing that I think, one rule that a lot of people don't fully understand is this rule called icing. And that's like something that's completely new to hockey, completely unique to hockey. So the puck can't pass two red lines. So you have to get at least to halfway before you can shoot the puck in what they call, shoot it in deep, to where you can establish your forecheck and all that stuff. So somebody has to either touch it past the red line, past the midline, or you have to at least acquire it, and then you can shoot it in. Otherwise, it's called icing, in which case the faceoff comes back to your side, and you don't get to change out players. You have to keep your 5 until you can't ice it anymore. So that's what's
establishing a forecheck mean?
Establishing a forecheck is like when you dump the puck in deep, and your forwards are in there causing havoc on the defensemen while they're trying to obtain the puck behind their own net. Does that make sense? So whenever the puck's in deep or in the offensive zone, you are beating up on their defensemen. You're trying to steal the puck away. You're being really aggressive with your forwards in hopes that you get a turnover. And so then you can, score on the offensive end. That's essentially what, establishing a forecheck is. If somebody else has out there that wants to clarify it better, that's great. But that's in layman's terms, that's establishing a forecheck. It's an offensive strategy. Like the Coyotes really, when they're at their best, they're establishing a really hard forecheck. They get guys in there that are just whooping on people and causing turnovers and causing havoc. Because the more havoc you have in front of their goalie, the harder it is for them to stop the puck, which in a sense, that's the objective, right? You want to put the puck in the back of the net. So, some common like penalties. Hooking is obviously a one. The tripping is a common one. So you have to be in charge of your stick and is a part of you. Okay. So if you throw your stick at somebody, which that's a penalty. You can't throw your stick at somebody. I mean, that's why I probably would make a bad hockey player, because I'd get mad and throw it at somebody or use it as a tomahawk or something like Mike Smith did once. So like, you have to, so if your stick trips somebody, you're still guilty of a trip, even if it's a chintzy call. If you fight somebody, that's a 5-minute for both players. You both get 5 minutes, but you don't lose a player. Another person can come in and take over for you for those 5 minutes. But fighting's always a fun part of it too. There's just a lot of fun. It's just a fun sport. And so I suggest you get involved in it if you can.
So let me ask a follow-up question here. When I went to the game with you, there were a lot of instances where you would yell, "He's been doing it all night!" Now, one of those instances occurred very early in the first period, which seemed to be odd to me because it feels like that's at odds with what was actually happening in the game. So can you elaborate a little bit on what that means and how I should implement that into my hockey fandom?
That's my heckling of the ref. So when I step into Gila River Arena, I kind of sort of morphed into another person that's, I don't know. It's hockey time. So, he's been doing it all game. Like, it's about time you throw up the hand, ref. That means there's a penalty. Get him out of here. You know what I mean? Even if it's a completely legal hit. Like, I don't want to, come on, get him out of here.
I'm going to write that. I think that's important. He's been doing it all game.
All game. Sir, you have to add the sir.
Sir, it's a polite sport.
It's a polite one. Sport. That is how I fell in love with the game, is my first trip to Canada. It's actually their second most popular sport behind curling. Curling's a little more popular, I think, because you can drink during it. So, I mean, kudos to them. But hockey's really important, and everybody's so involved in hockey. It's a part of their DNA, So when we went up there, we just kind of fell in love with it, and we try and catch the games, and we went to a few, and we love it. And it's one thing that Chelsea and I can bond over. We brought Sadie to her first hockey game when she was maybe 3 months.
I've got a photo of that, and she was teeny tiny.
She was all bundled up, and we had her little big old headphones on, or earmuffs on, and so it was hilarious. People were like, "Is that her first game?" Yeah, it's her first game. She's 8 weeks old.
It's one of her first breaths of oxygen.
Right? So it's like first time out of the house. So it's a fun sport. It's unfortunate that the season got cut a little short. I mean, justifiably, for understanding that this COVID has put a hitch in a lot of sports. But when they stopped, Coyotes were 4 points out of a playoff spot. So they were it was going to be tough to get into the playoffs, but they had a shot, which for Arizona fans to have a shot in a playoff it's been a while. It feels like since
you're in the run, you have a look.
Yeah, you have a look, and it's been a while. So,
honest opinion as a Coyotes fan, do you think they would have made the playoffs if the season had gone on?
The optimist in me says yes. The realist in me says no. And the only reason I don't think they would have was they're 4 points out. Every game's worth 2 points. So if you win the game, no matter when, you get 2 points. If you lose in overtime, you get 1 point. If you lose in regular time, you get 0 points. So they're 4 points out. So that's 2 games. A lot of the teams that were above them had a game in hand on them. So it would have been tough because in the Pacific Division, it was so packed. I think if only, one team would have been ahead of them, they would have had a look, but there was like 4 teams that were all right within that 4 point mark. It would have been really, really tough. And having a game or 2 in hand would have been, really difficult. So the year before, they went to like 2 games before the regular end of the season before they were eliminated. So I mean, they're in the right direction. They've got some pieces. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what they do. There, from what I've heard from the NHL, there's 2 kind of possibilities that are being floated. I mean, in all sports, there's so many different possibilities that have been thrown around. I've heard over the past few weeks, but from what I've heard from NHL, they're either going to go to a 20-team playoff or a 24-team playoff. And if they go to the 24, the Coyotes will be in. If they're in the 20, the Coyotes will be out. I'm not sure how they're gonna do it. I've heard so many different rumors, so we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully soon.
Regardless of the outcome, do you think Phil Kessel sticks around?
Yeah, I think he's going to stick around. He might finish his career here. He's getting a little older, and I think they've got him for a couple years. The one that's going to be the tougher is the Taylor Hall. He's young. He's won the MVP. He's going to want a big paycheck next. I'm guessing he's going to want like an 8-year contract. And so are the Coyotes going to be willing to do that? They may have to move some pieces to re-sign him because he's going to be a free agent this summer. So I think he's going to want mega dollars, and he's probably worth it. The Coyotes are one of those teams, I think, that has the money to be able to do that without having to lose too many pieces. He's going to be the one. They haven't had any active talks with him, from what I understand, with him and his agent. So, we're going to have to wait and see what that's going to bring. But they got a really good young goaltending, and Darcy Kemper and Antti Ranta. They've got a good defensive core. The trick is just going to be staying healthy, like in any sport. If they can stay healthy, I think they're going to do really well. And they got to be able to score goals. They're always a defensive-minded team, which I like. But at the end of the day, you have to score more goals than the opponent. That's what it boils down to. So the magic number for the Coyotes is 3. If they can score 3 goals a game, they should be in good shape to win. Because their defense is really strong. But thanks for asking about hockey. Nobody ever asked me about hockey, so it's good to be able to vent a little bit. I think we may have lost some listeners because nobody cares. But
okay, let's do this then. Let's bring those people back in by tying it to a sport that they know.
Okay, I'm in.
Are Phil Kessel and Taylor Hall the best playoff push rentals that an Arizona sports franchise has been able to secure? I think there's one other person I would put on this list, but I want to see if you think they're the best. Because ostensibly the reason they brought him in was because they're in a playoff push,
right?
And they just want to get over the top. There's a chance both of them are going to go the next year, and so you might just have them for half a season, and you want to get in the playoffs and push that way.
Right.
There's one other guy that comes to mind, and recency bias is at play here for me. But I know you know who it is.
Right. In my mind, it's JD Martinez.
It's JD Martinez.
Of course. Yeah, JD Martinez.
Who is the best playoff push rental I have ever seen a team make.
And I completely agree.
Was unreal. But we'll never know now because the hockey season got cut short.
Yeah, and so with especially with Taylor Hall, because they got Phil Kessel in the beginning of the year. They got him in the offseason. So I think that he was to some degree, you can say, rental, but Taylor Hall was almost purely a rental. I mean, he was almost purely brought in because, like, hey, we're in this playoff push. We need a goal scorer. So we're going to go out. We know Taylor Hall's a goal scorer. He wants out of New Jersey. Let's go get him. And they did. And, but we won't know if it paid off unless whatever they decide to do with the playoffs, right? We just don't know if that's going to be worth the gamble. It's way too early to be able to tell that. I think it will be good in fact of if we can get him for more years. I think that would be worth it. He sold a lot of tickets. I mean, a lot of people went to go see him. I noticed a lot more fans in the stands, and especially you talk about Phil Kessel, a lot of people went to go see him too, which is good, an offshoot of what they bring to the table. But JD Martinez, oh my gosh. I mean, he's one of the best midseason pickups of all time. I wouldn't say the best, but definitely up there in terms of maybe the best in Arizona sports.
From an Arizona sports perspective, I can't think of anybody who made a bigger impact and then leveraged that into something huge. He went to the Red Sox the next year and won the World Series.
And got paid mega, And so he put up on the field saying, hey, I won a lot of money. Here's what I can do. And the Red Sox were like, I like what you can do. Here's a lot of money. And he's like, okay. And they won a ring. That was a killer one. I mean, in terms of playoff push, I don't see how you can possibly argue that. So yeah, that's it. That's an interesting take. I haven't thought about it like that in terms of relaying it back to the baseball aspect of things.
The reason being is you can't say that for the Cardinals because they're never in a playoff push,
right?
And football doesn't really work the same anyway. There's not a mid-season. There's no big blockbuster trades in football. If it is, it's over the off season, so you don't get that kind of playoff push.
Yeah.
I guess basketball would be the other place. I remember when the Suns traded for Shaq.
Oh yeah,
because they just needed someone who could match up in the paint against the Lakers. Back then, they needed someone who could match up with the Gasol.
Yeah. I think so, but I mean that you could say that one too, Shaq. I think that it's hard to say that to get a midseason pick in football, because in football you have 11 guys on the field at once on your team. So it's yes, one person can make a huge impact, but it's awfully hard to find that one person in the middle of a season, because if they're playing really well already, they really want to stay there, usually because they're winning, right? You're not going to see a lot of those teams. I can't imagine Tom Brady, he's going 8-0 being like, I want out of New England. I mean, you're winning, then everybody stays. In the offseason, you want to go to Tampa, then go for it. With hockey, if you can get a goal scorer, I mean, you score one more goal than the other team, you win. Like that's, or your goalies are all hurt, go out and get a goalie. Your goalie is one of the more important players on your team, because they're going to be seeing the most ice time, and they're the ones that are going to keep you in place. So, in terms of mid-season pickups and baseball, I never would have imagined an outfielder being the biggest pickup. You think about picking up a pitcher, we need a lefty because they got Barry Bonds on the other side. We need somebody that can try and strike him out. I mean, but an outfielder to come in and hit 4 home runs in a game and like basically single-handedly carry you to the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare.
The only guys I can think of that the Cardinals have even signed mid-season in recent memory who've made an impact, Adrian Peterson, they signed him mid-season, and he played good for one game.
Yep.
And then Kenyon Drake, who is now re-signed and has become like an integral part of that offense. That was a good signing too. Not that they were in a playoff push, but
that's still a good signing. I mean, and still a good
signing.
Yeah, and it turned out to be really good because they got him for another year on the transfer tag or whatever. Like they got him for next to nothing. And Kenyon Drake, if you are listening, if you're one of our 5 subscribers or whatever you are, I want to personally thank you, because you almost won me a fantasy football championship this year. It wasn't your fault. You killed it, brother. But I lost because another reason that I can't remember. But you were awesome. There's
Come
my
on the
plug
show
for Kenyon Drake.
Come on the show and hang out. We'll talk about. I'm sure NFL players love to talk about their fantasy football stats. Some Dottie Datter stuff.
Okay.
Dottie Datter.
Dottie Datter.
You want to talk about Dottie Datter stuff, Brody?
I don't want to talk about Dottie Datter stuff. That sounds like I need to report that.
How about Daddy Daughter?
Oh
then?
yeah. I'm a daddy of a daughter. Ooh, I had to think about that. I had to think about that one real hard,
After
brother.
I've messed it up in your head. I've lodged Dottie Datter in there.
Oh no,
Brody, I got to see Sadie last weekend.
I know
that was almost as good as seeing you in Chelsea.
I got to see Posey, and it was awesome. Yeah, that was fun. How great! They're so fun that they're growing up in such similar time frames. They're not super far. What, they're 10 months apart? We figured this out?
We have figured it out, and we should probably know it off the top of our heads.
Sadie was born in
August, and then Posey was born in March. So about 7?
Yeah, okay, that sounds...
7 months?
Yeah, 7 months. Yep. Yeah, I mean...
And yet, their development seems wildly disparate. Like, Sadie seems to me like she's 5 compared to Posey.
Dude, I don't know. I know every person thinks this about their own child. I told Chelsea this. We were going yesterday to go pick her up and from my mom's house, and I swear she feels like she's almost a prodigy, like child. She knows, her vocabulary is almost better than mine. That's not saying much. I know that, but like, she knows so much. And I start to think like, I start to think she's a prodigy because like she knows what sound airplanes make. She's 20 months old. So she knows what sounds airplanes make. She knows what the word flat is. She knows what oh no. She knows more milk. She knows what ranch dressing is and asks for it.
Wow.
She knows please. And I think about all this stuff, and then today we were outside and she was eating a rock. so I don't know how smart she really is. She's all over the map here.
How will she know what it is unless she tastes it first?
I was like, oh my gosh. She's like looking at me like, what? What? I don't understand what's wrong with this. Like, you're eating a rock. That's what's wrong with this. Stop. Posey is going to grow so much in the next 7 months. You'll see it. Yeah, dude, Posey's getting around so fast. Like, think about just even a month ago, right? I mean, she's
I'm
growing.
to the point. I'm to the point already where I have refused to compare her to other children.
Yeah.
And I think that this apparently is the advice portion of this, because I'm a wise old sage of a 14-month-old, is that comparing your child to other children is just going to frustrate you.
You can't.
Even if it's from a perspective of you see your child surpassing others, you're just then going to expect that to be the case all the time.
Right.
I can't compare her to anybody else because her, not just like her genetic issues, but like her uniqueness, regardless of those, is such that comparing her to anybody else is like a fool's errand. And it's just going to make your expectations of her wrong.
And you know what?
My expectations need to be, what can she do right now? And the fact is, she's so good, dude. Like, she is in my Zoom meetings with me at NAU. She's has to be in them because there's nowhere else for me to put her. And she just is quietly in the background most of the time playing. Like, I gave her an empty box and she played with that empty box for a good 45 minutes. Just put toys in it, took them back out, put toys in it, took them back out, didn't complain, didn't fuss one time. And she's been doing this for the past 3 weeks. So
she's awesome.
What more do I want from this kid?
Right.
I don't know what else I can ask for.
No, she's awesome. And dude, that's such good advice for dads of daughters in general. Like, just, you're right. Don't compare your kid to other kids, or you'll drive yourself crazy. But that's good advice for just people, right? We get to this mindset of like, oh, well, this person or this, whatever, they have a bigger house and they this and that, and this and this should be me, and they're traveling here. But man, you just got to live your own way and focus on your own self, because these kids are human beings too, and they pick up on that the same. Like Sadie, we're talking about how she's got all these words and vocabulary, but she has like 6 teeth. She's like, she has like no teeth. And so we were like, what? Like, this can't be normal, but that's just her. She's just bringing in teeth. Posey has way more teeth than Sadie does. Like, they all grow at their own way and they all figure it out their own way. I mean, Posey is a way better crawler than Sadie ever was. Sadie didn't crawl. She rolled. She just rolled. Like, she'd like calculate, okay, how do I get to the door from here with rolling? And she would roll all over the place. Posey's like, take off, and she's off.
She can move.
But you're right. You can't. It's hard to. You can't compare your kids.
Nope.
It's not healthy for the kid, and it's definitely not healthy for you. That's good advice. I like that. I needed to hear that.
One thing I know that we can compare, though, is we can compare children's television programming.
Oh my gosh.
And we can come up with an objective, comprehensive ranking of which shows are bad and which shows are worse than bad. Because I'm not willing to put one in a good yet. I'll put Sesame Street in the good. I'm fine with Sesame Street.
Yes. Okay. We are on the same page on that. Sesame Street is good. It's like nostalgic for me.
And it continues to improve. I don't know if you've watched modern episodes of Sesame Street, but they've got like these cinematic motions now. They've got like the intro has like Big Bird in slow motion for some reason, which is nonsensical but ultra cool.
Yes, we saw one a couple weeks ago. So I've seen a couple of like the newer ones, but I like Sesame Street because it's nostalgic for us. Because growing up, we had like 4 stations. and Sesame Street was really the only thing that we could watch. So, yeah, I like that one. Sadie's not a big Sesame Street fan yet, hit and miss. But you're right. Other than that, give me your list. There's good, and then there's bad. And
Well, I know I've heard rumor that Sadie's found a new show that she likes that I'm unfamiliar with, and I'd love to hear a little bit about Baby Bum.
so, is this just the Brody soapbox episode? You're just asking.
It might be.
Just...
I've asked you to talk about something you love, and now I'm asking you to talk about something that you maybe don't love as much.
Anybody that's known my daughter or been listening to this, or you have a daughter, that they have that one show that they watch religiously and would be petrified to miss. And for a lot of us, it's Frozen and Frozen 2, and we went through that. And for Sadie, it was Cars for the longest time. And now we're not on Cars anymore. We're on this show called Little Baby Bum. In Little Baby Bum, what happens is they just play nursery rhymes, like a bunch of nursery rhymes over and over again. And then they have like computer animation people that are acting out this nursery rhyme.
So for clarification, I have never seen this show. Is it like traditional nursery rhymes or stuff they make up themselves?
A little bit of both.
Like, is it Wheels on the Bus?
Yes. So
go round and round kind of stuff? Okay.
You get about 9 versions of Wheels on the Bus. So it's not like Wheels on the Bus it's like Wheels on the Bus go round and round, round and round. And then it's like they need to fuel up the bus. And then at one point the bus becomes a submarine. It goes underwater. And I was petrified. I was like, what is this bus driver doing? This
is not how a bus works.
You just drove a bunch of kids into a river. Sir, you cannot be doing this. See, this is the hockey came out in me right there. It's hockey and bus driving apparently is what are my bugaboos. But they play these and then they'll play like a few verses of it. And then it goes to the next nursery rhyme and the next nursery rhyme. And they have computer animated things that will act out what's going on. I think it's a British show, if memory serves me right, because they have a lot of British things. Like they'll play London Bridge is falling down, and there'll be Big Ben in the background, and they have double-decker buses, and in some episodes they drive on the left side of the road, and like they have like a lot of innuendos that go towards British. And like, I think some British nursery rhymes on there. And I think a lot of them, they have to put their own spin on the nursery rhyme for copywriting, purposes or whatever.
Those British nursery rhymes, if I'm familiar with them, are usually, they end pretty brutally.
Oh my gosh, dude. I heard one today. They do. I heard one today about a cat. I gotta go find it. A dude putting a cat in a well, like drowning a cat.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
I was like, that can't be good for a cat.
This is like Dwight Schrute style.
Yeah, like
Doesn't he talk about the nursery rhymes when he was growing up that were just brutally scary?
Your rules.
You need to learn your rules.
If you don't, you'll be eaten in your sleep. Like they're like that. This kid puts a cat in a well. I was like, what did I just? Because when Sadie has it on, I zone in and out, and I just happen to zone in during cat drowning lullaby. And she'll watch this stuff for hours, dude. For hours. Like she'll lay out Starfish with a bag of Cheetos watching Little Baby Bum.
She lives the life all of us want to live.
She is living the quarantine life. They need to do a HBO special, or not HBO, but a special on my quarantine life, and they'll just follow her around.
Sadie with a bag of Cheetos and a murder lullaby in the background.
A cat murder lullaby, to be specific. What more do you want? That is TV.
I'd watch that.
I have an issue that I've been thinking about all week, and I need to share this with you.
Okay.
A couple of them come up as Humpty Dumpty, right? Y'all know Humpty Dumpty. Humpty
like
Dumpty.
The lullaby
yeah.
Or the nursery rhyme is the Humpty Dumpty song?
Yeah, like
okay.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. So I got a few things that I need to get off my chest.
With it.
You got that one? So
I got that one.
The first one that I think a lot of people know, but just to reiterate, nowhere in the lullaby or the nursery rhyme, I guess not a lullaby, but in the rhyme, does it clarify that Humpty Dumpty is an egg? He's never mentioned as an egg, but that's the way we always interpret him, as being an egg, because I don't know, I guess it got passed down from years of him being an egg.
Is your concern that he's like a humanoid and he's fallen and somehow all of his parts have popped out and the king's horses and men cannot then reassemble him? Like he's some kind of Lego man?
Well, that wasn't my chief concern, but now that you mention it, like, what if he's just a regular person and he fell and like all the king's horses can't put him together again? Like,
with parts that just jettisoned from his body upon impact?
Exploded. He was that high up. Or was he a Lego man and they couldn't put the Legos back together because they didn't have the instructions?
So, if he's not a Lego man, he's just a regular old...
Like me falling off a wall.
The normal Humpty Dumpty, like your general run-of-the-mill man named Humpty, which is a very common name, as we're all very familiar with. This man falls off of a 50-foot brick wall and just explodes. And the first thing the king's horses and men think is, get the pieces, put them back together.
But they couldn't, according to the nursery rhyme. Where does this go? Is this either a leg or an intestine? I don't know.
Which is fair. I mean, no one could put back an exploded human being together.
Right.
So the rhyme is more just a statement of fact than it is anything. If human beings explode, you cannot fix them.
You can't. Leave them alone.
Really should be the nursery rhyme.
Right. And it would be a lot shorter and easier to remember. You see a bunch of body parts, leave them there. Done. That's the nursery rhyme.
I like that one much better.
But okay, so there's priority number one. He's not an egg. Number two, why is this, if we're going to call it an egg, I guess, if we get to that point, why is this egg so important to where you need all of your best men to work on this? I mean, the horses make no sense. I can't justify why you brought horses into it because horses and eggs don't mix. So I don't know where, but this is was it made by Tiffany's? I don't know. This is a very important person egg Lego man.
Is it the Fabergé egg?
Is that it? So that's...
Is Humpty Dumpty the Fabergé egg?
I think it's got to be, because why else would a king use all of its precious and valuable resources to try and put this thing back together and then finally realize, like, we can't do this, man? Which, in ancient times, if you couldn't put it back together, the king would probably have you thrown in jail. Like, why can't you put this thing back together?
Is this indicative that Humpty Dumpty is not then in fact an egg? Is he some kind of man that the king is very concerned about?
He has
maybe
to
some
be.
Kind of like spy or insider or like Obamagate, maybe?
Is this what
I've seen a lot
Obamagate
about
is?
that on the internet this week. I don't really know what it means. Maybe Obamagate has something to do with Humpty Dumpty.
Here's my really upsetting thing about this. We're mad at the king for trying to put this egg together. We probably should be mad at Humpty Dumpty for sitting on the wall he probably wasn't supposed to be on. The most important is we need to really be mad at Humpty Dumpty's parents. Because who names their kid Humpty? Are you serious right now? What made you think that that was an appropriate name for what we are determining to be the Fabergé egg, the most important resource in which the king needs to spend all of his valuable time and budgetary resources to put back together? You named it Humpty. This kid is going to get bullied. That's not fair. Your parents are
pushed
bad.
off a wall.
Or he's going to marry Carol Baskin and then she pushed him off the wall. I'm upset. I'm really upset at that.
Yes.
It's very stressful.
Let's think about the names here of children from high regarded families then. Like Humpty Dumpty is clearly some kind of Fabergé egg connected to the king.
Right.
And has the name Humpty.
Right.
It's terrible.
Right.
Rapunzel. Rapunzel is a real bad name.
Yeah.
Did her parents name her Rapunzel, or did her weird psycho witch mom name her Rapunzel?
I don't know. I have to go back and look at it. I don't remember that part. I don't remember. We haven't watched a lot of Rapunzel, so
I've watched that film quite a few times. I can tell you, I don't know who. I would love to know in the original Dwight Schrute fairy tale,
the storybook
is the person responsible for naming her Rapunzel.
That would be that. We need to know that. That's an important thing before you get Rapunzel, because like you think about the royal family now, and they have pretty normal names. You know, William,
yeah,
Charles, Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm. What about Moana? Moana's not a good name.
No.
Moana's a bad name, mostly because that movie is
It's bad.
overrated garbage.
It's bad. It's a bad. I want to argue with you so bad, but you're hitting a lot of good points. So what about Moana do you hate the most?
I think I hate seconds 1 through 2 hours and 53 minutes, or however long that film happens to be.
Until after the credits.
if I had to give an honest assessment of that movie, I like it up until they meet Maui.
Oh, okay.
Because the beginning of the film is like a nice contained little story about a girl who's trying to find her place in this very traditional society, and she feels drawn to this thing that is like a pariah of her people, and she decides to go on this journey instead, usurping her father's responsibility and everything that her dad wants her to be. And like, that's a good story. That's a good hero's journey. Let's get behind the whole hero's journey arc. Fine. Once they get to Maui, the whole thing goes off the rails. Like, everything is zany.
Yeah.
It's just wild. Like, it's wild out the gate once Maui gets involved. He's always screaming. He's always like just goofy.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be this serious demigod that people are scared of, who's cursed the entire world. And he's just The Rock. He's a goofy The Rock. The thing that happens as soon as they meet him is they have a silly song.
Yeah,
where
that's right.
He's like screaming for the whole thing. Then they've got a boat full of murdering coconuts.
Dude, okay. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I don't understand that. Go on. Keep talking.
And then at this point, Moana becomes a superhero. She's no longer just a human girl trying to find her way in the world. In the beginning, she gets wrecked on a boat and she's stuck in the coral, and you're like, dude, she's gonna die. This is scary. There's a threat to her. Suddenly, she's swinging from the top of 44-story boats on ropes, holding a literal chicken in her mouth. She's got like knives and she's smacking these coconuts and stuff, and she's impervious to any damage. She becomes a superhero.
It's like,
and at that point, all reality is thrown out the window, and your sense of involvement in the film is gone.
It's like she got one of the stars in Super Mario Brothers, and she can't.
Yes.
Everything just ding, 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 just gone.
And she's like that the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And then they meet like a shiny crab who is excellently played by Jermaine Clement, who is the best part of the movie.
I haven't made it that far yet.
Have you seen Flight of the Conchords?
I haven't seen that one yet.
He's the guy. Flight of the Conchords is one of the actors is the guy who plays the crab.
Okay.
And he's the best part of the movie.
Okay.
But if you don't know who he is, you don't care because it's all just zany. Like, she's jumping down a 300-story volcano somehow and survives.
Oh, yeah.
And everything's wild. And then there's a lava monster, and suddenly she can sail, and she can swim to the bottom of the literal ocean without her ears popping and her organs exploding.
Right.
I hate everything about Moana after 35 minutes.
I can watch 35 minutes of it after that. You've lost me. Wow. That's a good assessment. When we're talking about child movies, and a lot of dads have watched this, Mo, you and I on the golf course this weekend, we have a mutual friend, fan of the show, I think, and I love him like a brother. And he and I, we've known each other since we were born. But he texted me the other day about Frozen 2. Now, my friend is married with no kids. And he texted me, the part where he said in Frozen 2, where Kristoff is lost in the woods, that's the best part of the film. And my immediate response was, what are you doing watching Frozen 2?
Why are you watching Frozen 2?
You are a married man with no kids. You can, not the fact that you picked it, but you can literally pick anything in the whole streaming verse of worlds of movies to be made. And you are watching Frozen 2. Well, I was just thinking, no, you're not thinking anymore. Love him to death. Love him to death.
Do we need to mention the fact that this particular individual, who will remain unnamed, is a stalwart Arizona State Sun Devils fan?
Yeah, that needs to be brought up too. So,
I think there's a correlation here.
Yeah, there's something there. There is something there. I don't know if there's some, what's going on, but I'm going to go visit him here in a couple weeks. So we'll find out.
We love you, buddy. Sorry.
Sorry we dogged on you. Maybe we cut that part out of the episode. I was debating whether or not
No, I think we definitely leave that in.
had to switch to beer. Chelsea finished my wine.
Wine before beer, you're in the clear.
Is that how that works?
I think it rhymes,
dude,
it must be real.
As a good Irish boy, I've drank every which way, and I've been sick every way, and I've been clear every way. I don't think there's any truth to anything. Probably just don't drink as much is probably the best way to stay in the clear.
Let's make a rhyme out of that.
All right, you're gonna have to give me you're much more clever in the rhyming department than me.
The older you get, the less your tongue should stay wet. It's the best I got off the top of my head, man.
You should have not said that, because that's all I'm going to be able to think about now before I go to bed.
Beer, wine, and whiskey. When you're old, it gets risky. So keep yourself dry, and then you won't die.
There you go.
That's what I got.
Pat yourself on the back. If I was there, I would hug you right now, but I'm not. We're in quarantine. We saw each other once. That's it. That's all you get for 14 days.
Good enough. Good enough.
Oh, man.
Brody, I think we covered everything. I think we got it all.
Did we get everything?
We talked a little bit about the pressing issues of the day with everybody's favorite topic of COVID and quarantine and how we broke it. we got some good sports talk on a non-traditional sport of hockey for once, which I appreciated. I've got my list here of number 1 is boo the refs. Number 5 is he's been doing it all game, sir.
If you don't put sir in there, it doesn't count.
We definitely got our obligatory Frozen reference in, which is good.
Yeah, you have to
tick that box.
Yeah, you have to.
We got just about everything. What's our number for the week?
My number for the week is going to be 12. 12 is going to be our number because that's how many subscribers we have on YouTube. We've made it.
We have 12 subscribers?
12 subscribers. Yes. That was 12 more than we had this time last week.
Guys, so I'm only rolling. One of those, so thank you.
We thank you so much. Mo and I had a bet that only 15 people would listen to this podcast. So we're at 12 subscribers. So
wow,
somebody needs to make 3 more Google accounts and subscribe.
Man, I appreciate everybody who's actually been listening to this. Thank you so much. It means a lot. We have a good time doing it, and we'd do it if no one listened to it. But if anyone else enjoys it, thanks.
And I'm not going to lie, I looked on our YouTube channel today for the first time in a couple days, and the most watched clip is the one of Chelsea. She has 120 views or something, you know? And
how is she marketing herself so well? Let's learn.
She has a law degree and we don't. That's how she... You know, I don't want to show our viewers our degrees because hers is significantly larger certificate than mine.
It's a little bit larger, a little bit higher, and both of you are up the echelon from me quite a bit. Quite a bit.
No, not quite a bit.
I took a literal, Brody, this is real, a literal 6 years to finish a graduate certificate. not a master's degree. A graduate certificate.
But you finished. That's what's important.
I finished as of this week. It's done.
Dude.
Grades are in.
Yes. Good job. What's it in? Just degree certificate?
It doesn't matter at all. It's in podcasting. I got a degree in appearances.
That's great. Good job. You should be proud.
Thank you.
Are you going to walk across the stage?
But thank you.
When COVID is lifted?
It was a virtual commencement, and I did not attend. I would not have attended a real one, but definitely not a virtual one.
You and Emily are the only reason I had to walk across the stage when I got my master's. So this is offensive to me. You have offended me.
Yours is a real master's degree, and you should legitimately be proud.
You should be too. It's hard to go to school of any kind and have a kid. That's my advice for dads out there. It is not impossible, but it is very difficult to do. So if you are a dad and you are going to school and raising a child at the same time, you deserve a lot of credit, no matter what that degree may be in or what that schooling may be or training or whatever. It's hard. It's hard. We had Sadie right smack dab in the middle of mine. Like, it's hard. It's difficult to do. When we had Sadie, I was working 2 jobs. I was going to school full time, and Chelsea worked an hour and a half away, and we made it. So you guys can too. We can, keep it up, dads.
That's inspirational. Give me 12. Give me some 12 auction.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've made it. And here, 1 down, 2, 3, 4, $5, and 6, 7, here, 8, 9, 10, 10, and 10, $11, $12, 13, here, 13 and a half, here, 13, sold it, $12.
All 12 of you, and hopefully more, thank you for listening. It means a lot to us. We appreciate it. If you want to get in touch with us, you can get us at In-Law Show on Twitter or inlawshow@gmail.com. You can send us an email. Send us some questions. Connect with us on Twitter. We'll talk about you on the podcast. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Thanks again for listening.
Bye, guys.